Welcome back to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. I am your host, Lauren, and in today's episode, I have Astrid. She is a transformational business mentor. Welcome, Astrid. I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy to chat with you again.
Me too.
So kind of tell the listeners, I know I had you on, what was it? Was it last year? It must have been
Yeah,
last
about
year.
a year ago.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about a little bit different things now, but can you kind of share, where you were and where you started? You can start from last year or just kind of like who you are and who you help.
Okay. Yeah. Oh my gosh. My brain is just flooding with like 10 years worth of just want to tell you all the details. So, okay. I'm Astrid, of course, and I work with people who are more spiritually inclined, who want to grow their business, but also really value energetics and like don't want to fucking hustle for it, Like working is one thing, but like hustling is I believe in aligned hustle. I think that, working hard is aligned hustle, but hustling because you think you have something to prove is something that I see a lot, and people just typically don't want to have that experience anymore. So you come to me whenever you're ready to have a really beautiful experience of your business unfolding for you in the way that you always dreamed that it was possible. Sometimes people don't even know how good it can actually be. So we weave energy and strategy together to create a life and business of magic and create the systems that get you paid every single day and bring you dream clients on repeat. The only reason that I do this now is because of my history of like trying and trying and trying to figure it out and like just burning out so much. I'm a 6-2 manifester, and I thought I was doomed to burn out forever. Like so much so that I used to like try and create like an energetic like sacral motor and like put that bitch in there. Like, let's go. I like wanted to be a generator so bad because I just thought it was a part of it, and especially like having that 2 line, you never know when that hermit shit's gonna sneak up on you, and then it just hits you and it can take you out if you don't know what you're doing, right? So, I struggled with that. I've been coaching since 2017, and that whole like the first 3 or 4 years, I think 3 years was just a grind. Like it was such a grind. I would like constantly show up online and I had lots of like people showing up with me, lots of people, loving what I'm talking about, but really didn't see me as an authority. I certainly didn't see myself as an authority, right? Like at all. I was very insecure. And I'll just pop this in. One of the reasons why is because I spent 10 years like strung out and also like having been homeless, and it's also been 10 years since that point in time now too, which is a really beautiful celebration that I get to revel in. But during that time I was just like really very much did not like believe in myself, even though I thought I did. I really needed validation. And I think that I used my business for, several years as a way to be validated and to prove that I was worth a damn. um, so I like closed my business, and I was just like over it. And I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna play on TikTok. I'm just gonna make videos about things I love. So started talking about witchcraft and shadow work, and I grew my following really freaking fast. And during that time, I was still putting on events and things and like realizing, oh, holy shit, even when I'm not coaching, I'm still coaching. I guess this is just what I can't not do, right? So I started my business back up, but that's when it started being really aligned, and that's when my purpose, so to speak, which I don't believe that we necessarily just have a purpose. I think we just choose. We're like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing, pretty much. But that's when everything started really aligning, and that's how I got to this point is just through a lot of trial and error because six lines spend the first part of their life as threes. So there was lots of, taste testing, if you will. And yeah, um, I I did organic marketing for a long time and I still couldn't escape that like up and down of not having the sacral motor, also not knowing how to navigate being a 6'2". Um, and finally, I decided that I was going to start using ads and start taking my strategy seriously and start taking my business seriously. And I did a whole bunch of strategies. I worked with a whole bunch of people, and every strategy works. Let me tell you, every strategy works when you trust yourself. They all work. Pick one, go all in. They all work. But it wasn't until I kind of like stopped relying on strategists and started recognizing, like, oh shit, I understand the mechanics of strategy. I understand the mechanics and the energetics of sales and sales psychology and messaging. Oh, I can just like kind of do my own thing now. And when I started doing that, that's when my business started becoming really fun. That's whenever I started having six figures. And that's when I started attracting clients who really light me up and turn me on to show up for. Like, I'm so fucking in love with my life and business and my people. So it was a long, long journey for me, but that's how we got here. And that is the short version, by the way.
I was going to say, thank you for sharing all that because there's a lot of things that I feel like I can mirror back to what I actually probably am currently going through myself. So I probably started my business, what, 20, I want to say like really 2021 probably. Like, actual, like I kept saying that I had a business, but I didn't have paying clients. So like I actually had a paying client at, I think it's like 2021. So now 2025, it's like January of 2025. Like, so, but what is that? Like, I'm kind of like in that fourth year of like, now actually really knowing what I'm doing kind of thing, or like what works for me. And I feel like that those first 4 years, especially the way that you described it, and then completely like stepping away, is I feel like maybe kind of like where I want to just like burn things to the ground, but no, like because it's like very heart centered for me. I know I've known for a very long time, like this is just what I'm very passionate about. So I feel like that's like a good reminder for me, and then everybody else that's listening too. Like there's a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to this podcast, so it's like, and I feel like I've been hearing when we before we recorded, I was like, what do you want to talk about? And I, at the time I thought I had an idea of what I wanted to talk about, but I feel like I want to talk more about when you said the strategy, like, because if it like these business coaches talk about you have to have this strategy and this works. I feel like when people start that, me personally, when I see it, I feel like they don't do enough research for their own self. And I feel like, me using human design, I feel like that strategy is your strategy. Now you just need to figure out an actual like sales strategy. Like, would you agree to that?
I think I understand what you're asking. So you're saying like understand your personal strategy and then find the strategy that works for you.
Right. Like your sales
Right.
strategy. Yeah. Like your
Yeah.
personal strategy and sales strategy.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, I think that a lot of, there's a reason why know thyself is like the number one principle in all spiritual practices. And I think that specifically human design is like the cheat codes for any business, and it can really collapse time and make your business journey not have to be as long as mine was. I did start studying human design all the way back then, but there's like that idea that it takes 7 years to like completely come alive in your system and like to
Yeah.
come alive in your body. And so it was only last year that I really started like just having all these epiphanies about it. And so even though I knew, I didn't know in my bones, you know what I mean? So I don't think that necessarily like knowing the strategy, for me, like having, to initiate and to inform and all of this was something that I wanted people to just come to me. And I didn't really know how to do that without I didn't understand my strategy enough to use it in the right way, right? So I do think that there's a lot of value in understanding it and also understanding how to practically apply it. So whenever you put that in addition to a sales strategy, yeah, it definitely comes alive. There's for me the way that I initiate or even inform now is through ads, right? Because if I have my ads running, then I know new people are coming into my world every day, and I'm able to give them these micro wins or this taste of community and this experience of being seen and held and felt and understood. And those people always, the dream clients anyways, they always naturally upgrade through my world. And what I'm finding is that that's usually what people want from me too. They're like, hey, I want to feel the way that you made me feel. And I want to make people, I want to make people feel the way that you made me feel. This felt really easy. This felt really natural. And so with my strategy being to initiate and inform and like reach out, not having to like go and DM people and be like, hey, do you want to work together, which is what we would think a manifester would need to do, right? It's not always tr- true. It's not black and white like that, you know what I mean? So I do think that the two very much belong together. There's also other ways to respond, to wait for an invitation, right? Like there are other ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna, because there's a lot of also projectors that listen to this too. So there's also generators too. And I feel like for me, a big part of what I've been talking about, I feel like the last probably like 6 months with personal clients or just in general, like on calls, like, my free, 30-minute call. People, the one question is literally the one challenge is I can't attract my dream clients. My brain, my projector brain goes right to immediately. I know exactly where their block is. Like, of course I pull their chart. I know when I hear that question, I pull their chart, I look at their chart intuitively, and I ask them, well, what's your strategy? Meaning, like, what do you actually do in your business? Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing every day in
Mhm.
your business? Because I need to understand that. Because for me, through my own trials and tribulations of like thinking I got to do it this way, I'm not cold messaging anybody. Never have done that. I'm not doing that. I don't even care to try. I know it doesn't work. I did that when I was doing like MLM stuff. Like, so of course, like I've
I
been in
started in MLM too.
I've been in sales since I was 18 years old. So it's like, sure,
Damn.
I haven't had a personal business that long, but I know how yucky feeling like when I would somebody, my
Hey
higher up.
girl. Hey
Yeah, like,
girl.
hey girl, copy paste messages. I've never bought, and people have ignored me. I'm like, well, fuck you too. Like, whatever. I thought I was doing what I was supposed to be doing and realizing, no, this is so gross.
Yeah.
So anyway, so when I came back to um I had to figure out, like, because I self-taught myself human design. This is probably the eighth year on the experiment, and then teaching everybody else probably like, I guess it's been, yeah, because they usually say 7 years, and I kind
Mhm.
of realized that, like you said, I always believe that strategy, your personal strategy has to match with a sales strategy. And then I noticed nobody talks about that. Like,
Yeah.
when people are asking me different questions, because people are like, oh, Lauren's the person to go to for human design. Like, how do you do it? And I always say, well, if I'm wherever you are, like if you're an entrepreneur, if you want to start a business, like what you have to figure out, like what works for you. And I just feel like you said earlier, the cheat codes is human design. And I feel like I've done all of this deep dive research, understanding human design. I can teach you anything you want to know about human design. If you have a question, I know exactly where it is in your chart, like everything. Like, it's just, I'm very passionate about that because it's just like what I do. I don't know. People
Yeah.
ask me, and I literally tell you, I don't know how I do it. Like, I just don't. It's just a gift that I have, I guess. And, but I also, for myself, had to figure out what strategy worked for me. And my biggest I mean, I'm going to just be very authentic when I'm saying this. My biggest struggle was my messaging. Like I didn't know how to tell people or the world what I do because I didn't even know who I was talking to. And this was like
Yeah.
last year, like
Yeah.
literally last year. I mean, I'm a trauma healer too. So I could energetically, I could do all the things. But then when it came to helping them transition from where they, energetically where they were to building a successful business, I had to figure that out for myself. And then it's like, oh, now I can put it together.
Yeah.
So I love that your journey is I feel like it's very similar. And yeah, yours has been a very long journey, but I feel like when people work
So
with people like
long.
us, it gets shorter and it's like you
It
don't
does.
have to do everything. So
Yeah. That's why like having support is important, period. Having the right support will change your fucking life forever, right? And I think that that's part of it is like for me, I didn't find the right support for me for 6 years. And being a manifester, I can see your fucking soul. Like I think that's also part of just like my gifts. And so, like we were talking about a little bit before, you can just see people's shit, right? And so anytime that I had worked with a coach, like I would always kind of just be like, "Oh, I'm not gonna listen to you." Like, I don't care what your results look like. Your life is shit. Like, I don't want that life. You know what I
right.
mean? Or just being really rebellious of like, you can't tell me anything, right? I was very stubborn. I'm also a Taurus. So like, there's that. And Aquarius rising and a Pisces moon. So there's like just all of this, like, I'm living in my own little world. I'm also stubborn and like a very sensual, very sense based. Like if it doesn't feel good, I'm not doing it. And if I can't turn it into fun, like I still, like I mentioned at the beginning, I still think that you should work hard for what you love. It's just natural. You want to work for what you love, right? Like you work hard to build a life that you are proud to wake up to. That's just a part of it. And you want to when you're actually in alignment. But like it needs to be very sense based for me. Like, if I'm not feeling it, it can really, if I'm not like paying attention to that or bringing power into a situation, it can take me out, like I could get bulldozed by a situation. And not so much anymore. It used to take me out a lot. Now when I do have something like that, it might last like a couple of days, or if it's really strong, a couple of weeks, which I mean, I think that that's just honest to say. I don't know if, I don't know if people would normally say that. I don't think that you should ever just think somebody's perfect or put somebody on a pedestal and think that they don't ever have shit. They do. It's just that, like, when you are in power, you have the right outlets for it, right? Again, like having the right support that actually can like take you through that and collapse time is so fucking important. What you said about strategy and sales strategy, I think that people also don't notice, like, people like can compartmentalize these things, right? Oh, sales strategy and human design strategy are the different things. But like, you have to pay attention to the language and like the codes in the language and like how it literally is the same thing, and it's just like a different flavor of it, it's like a different angle. And I think that that's something that if you don't think people are talking about that, you should fucking talk about that.
Hey there, I just wanted to take a quick moment to share with all of you spiritual rebels and fempreneurs. If you've been craving a space where you can build wealth, heal trauma, and rise alongside like-minded women, I got something for you to hear about. I'm excited to invite you into the Enlightened Misfits Sisterhood. This is a low-cost, high-impact group membership designed exclusively for spiritual fempreneurs who know they need accountability and support to create sustainable wealth, but aren't ready to dive into a one-on-one mentorship. In this membership, you'll get monthly calls, rituals, healing sessions, and workshops to break through your self-doubt and build confidence so that you can consistently sell your offers and make money. This is also a collaborative private Facebook community where you make lifelong connections with other women who are just as serious as hitting their goals. And my personal guidance as your intuitive human design business guide and trauma healer, ensuring you stay aligned and on track with your business goals. Plus, you'll get free access to all my paid workshops and masterclasses, along with exclusive VIP pricing for my one-on-one Voxer membership. This membership is all about helping you heal the sabotaging behaviors blocking your abundance and using your human design to create a business that feels amazing to run. Imagine waking up excited to serve your clients and knowing that you have the exact support you need to hit every single one of your business goals every single month. So if you're ready to rise and build wealth with a sisterhood of spiritual misfits, make sure you click the registration link in the description box. Right now, the investment is just $88 a month, but the price will increase to $197 a month. Join today to unlock exclusive rates and get access to next month's kickoff call. Let's get back to today's episode, but remember, your next level is just one decision away. Join the sisterhood and let's rise together.
That's really
Yeah,
cool.
I literally, when you're saying that, I was like, okay, I need to make content around
Yeah.
that because I feel like people are not talking about that. And right now it's so loud in what's going on in the world and Age of Aquarius and some people are leaving social media, they're leaving their businesses. And sure, like, I guess it's like, it's supposed to happen, but I feel like it's just because it's this mindset of, I don't know, I guess being a projector and just being able to see the overall picture, I just feel like people aren't really, there's like two kind of coaches, mentor, whatever you want to call yourself. There's the ones that are all about themselves and there's the ones that are all about community. It's like those people, that's what's switching. So it's like it's all like money, money, money. I'm going to make this. I'm going to do this. I have this, you can make a whole bunch of money. And then there's other ones that are actually heart centered and they're actually doing this because this is what drives them or whatever. Obviously we all have to make money. Like, how else are we going to play in the 3D? Like, we have to pay bills. We can't just give crystals for whatever. So it's like,
Pay
not
your bills in
like,
crystal.
sure, I'm sure in another timeline, space, whatever, that's how it was, bartering, whatever. But I feel like the partnership, it's been really huge for me that I have, like, hearing that partner in community and it's like expansion. And I feel like that's not talked about because it's coming from a paradigm of Aquarius or Capricorn.
Pisces.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or yeah, like Capricorn, like when, and now we're in the age of Aquarius. So it's like, and then, the Pisces, North Node and stuff. And it's like, oh, yay, I have a Pisces North Node, Pisces rising and Pisces moon, and then my Aquarius sun. So it's like, oh, and an emotional authority. So I'm just like, crying is okay for me and it always has been.
It will always be okay for you. Cry,
And it's
baby girl.
easy. Yeah, and it's going to be like expansive. And that's another thing too. I feel like people that they hear about astrology, they might not understand it. So the way that when somebody says what's a human design, I'm like, well, it's astrology on steroids. And I feel like that connection it's just like a deeper, like, it's a deeper thing. Like, it's just
Yeah.
like, you don't have to understand all of it. You just need to understand the three most important things is what I talk about.
Yeah.
But and that's like literally all I talk about all the time is the energy type, the strategy and your authority, because that's all you really need to know to harness your energy. I mean, sure, you can go dive deeper into your digestion and like where you should live and like, but that's overwhelming to people. Like, when people ask me, or there's a couple people that, have got on calls with me, they want to know about their gates. And I'm like, whoa, that doesn't matter. Like, your gates do not matter right now if you don't even know your like energy type. So that's why I wanted to pick your brain about your opinion on the authority and, or not authority, we'll talk about authority in a second, but your sales strategy, like what you actually do, like physically, tangibly do versus human design. Cause I always see them to go together in a way, I say they're the same thing, but I guess they're not. It's just like you said, it's like a different language.
Yeah.
But to me, they're the same thing.
They
It's just,
are the same thing.
yeah.
Everything is the same thing. It's all
Right.
McDonald's. Have you heard that? I don't remember whose comedy special that is, but they're like, it's all McDonald's.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's literally we're all the same. And that's another thing when I ask people what sets, when I ask like what sets you apart from everybody else, and I actually hear myself saying, well, what sets me apart from everybody else is I understand human design and most people don't. Like that's literally but it's because if I teach them, I often ask my clients too, like when I teach you something, how do I teach it to you? Like I want your feedback on your perspective. And they're like, you teach it to us and then you make us do it. And I was like, well, how else would you learn? Like how, like, in
It's
my mind,
obvious.
I don't think of it logically like that. I think of it like I do this, let me help you do this, and then you do this, and then you do it however you want to do it.
Yeah.
It's like that's how I always say, like, especially too with like listening and why I'm such a good, I feel like why I'm such, well, I should say people have told me why I'm such a good podcast is because they're like, you ask really good questions. Like I'd never even thought, I'm like, what do you think? These are scripted? No, they're all downloaded. Like I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm at picking your brain for all of your wisdom and knowledge because I'm sure this is probably not talked about. It's definitely not talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that you probably have a gift for finding like the unique edge in a conversation, right? Like I think
It's
that
my
that yeah. I think that that makes a big difference, but I also think that that's practiced to mastery, right? Like it's
oh
practiced to the point of mastery. Like you've trusted yourself so long with this, right? So before I knew I was psychic, as fuck, I I would have like these weird things peeing in my head, and I would feel like, oh, I don't know, I'm thinking a thing. But when I started saying them out loud, oh my God, that's when things like really people are like, I was just thinking that. And I'm like, oh, I must have been hearing their thoughts, right? There was
yeah.
one time where I was on a call with one of my clients in Australia and I started smelling like cucumber and some other smell. And I just said it out loud. I was just like, I'm smelling like cucumber and some, I don't remember what the flavor was. And she goes, that's my smoothie. I was like, what the fuck? Right? That's how you practice something to mastery is you just like keep showing up for it. You keep like trusting it, you keep leaning into it. And for you, it's really natural, but it's like that urge or that impulse that you have to follow it. And I think just kind of tying it back to human design, when you know these things about yourself, like before I knew I was a manifester, before I knew that like a sacral motor was a thing, I just thought I was a piece of shit that couldn't sustain energy. Like I just thought that I was just gonna, I was a loser, right? Like I had no idea. Like I had this urge and this impulse to like guide and like show up and like be seen and all of this stuff. And I felt like I just wasn't good enough. I couldn't fulfill that role. And I had no idea why. So whenever I found out about three different things, when I found out about autism in women, and this was like way before TikTok, right? Like this was like 10 years ago. When I found out about like autism in women, ADHD in women, those two things, I felt seen for the first time in my life. I am telling you, I had never felt so seen. The second time, and I'm not diagnosed and I'm never going to seek out a diagnosis, just the fact of feeling so seen and knowing that like, hey, that's a thing, that was good enough for me, right? The second time was finding out that I was a manifester. And I guess the third time was like understanding what 6-2 means, right? And like all the nuance of that. Those were turning points, And then so like in addition to all of the stuff of like knowing about your strategy and everything, like really, really, really truly embodying and understanding the concept of power in your life and the way that you animate power or don't is like these things together, game changers, like absolute game changer. Like understanding that you have a fucking choice and that like, oh, you actually can have everything that you want. And that's not just like some delusion. It's actually
Right.
delusional to think that you couldn't have it, that you have like this dream or this vision and you can't have it. That's stupid. Okay. Like that's the dumbest shit I ever heard, right? Because like especially if you're spiritual, how are you gonna like have this spiritual oneness and not actually apply it to your lived life experience? Like
Right.
if you know there's no separation, why the fuck would it be any different between like, oh well, I can't attract clients. Like, yes you can. You haven't decided yet. And
Right.
also, like, you're holding so much fucking shame that, and I'm not saying that to shame anybody, by the way, you're holding so much
It's just
shame
a side note.
and this idea that you're not good enough. So you keep doing things to prove to yourself that you're not good enough. I only know this because that was me, right? Like I only speak from experience. These things are so important, but there's not a lot of things. Like you were mentioning something a while ago that like it's easy. It literally is as easy as finding the person who feels really safe for you. And I'm not talking about like, oh, this is a safe space, like come into my safe space. You don't, that shit doesn't need to be broadcasted. It doesn't need to be said. It's a felt experience. You just know when you're safe, you know when you're seen, you know when you're felt. You find that and you go all in on it. You create the awareness on your blind spots and you fucking follow through, and it's that simple. Like there's no need to overcomplicate things. It's just it is an experience. There's nothing that needs to be done. There's no actual deadlines. You get to actually live your life as an experiment, as a work of art,
Yeah.
and make it what you want. Oh my God, you only get one time in this incarnation. Like, fucking do it up, you know? Like, go all in. Anyways, rant over.
Love your TED Talks and rants. I
Thank
feel
you.
like, and I feel like that's, I feel like sometimes I have TED, like I have always thought there's so many recordings I have done, never posted because it's been, and probably they probably would be my best content. So I probably should work on that.
They would. They
Yeah.
would.
Because I feel like for one, I have a defined throat. So I'm very good at speaking, hence why I
Mhm.
love speaking. But
And it's how you create.
right. So it's like and it's also, I mean, it's a huge part of the reason why the mission behind the podcast is I wanted to give people a space that they feel seen and heard, because feeling safe and feeling heard and seen and all the things is important to me. So it's like, why wouldn't I try to create that for other people?
Yeah.
Now, you know, I love that you said you don't have to say this is a safe space. I feel like that is also, like you said, it's felt. But when people are nervous before we start recording, I can feel that, I can see that. So I'm always like, just breathe. It's just going to be me and you talking. And that's why I structure I don't really have structure actually on my podcast, but it's just, we talk about whatever. When I talk about the topics too, like I've been on so many podcasts that they're like, what are the questions you want me to ask you? And I'm like, I don't even fucking know what I don't know. Let's just talk about like this. I'm like, maybe I should be on this podcast because like you're making me now logically think about this, and I'm just I think I have
I'm
to.
out.
I'm like, I'm out because I logically have to think about anything. It's like I don't know if this is for me, so
It's not
but
like you're doing, like those tours that actors do, like when they're selling their movie and stuff.
yeah,
Like, what do you want me to talk about? Like, I'm putting you on display to sell your movie or something. It's like,
yeah.
I think,
You
is
talk
that
about
what you mean? They're like trying to get you. That's funny.
yeah, I mean, of course, like I said, like what before, I always ask for topics because I feel like we need an actual theme or a topic, because
Mhm.
we could talk about what's going on in the world today,
We could
or
talk for 19 hours straight
yeah,
without a
like we
break.
could talk about conspiracy theories, which this year I want to kind of talk more about like paranormal conspiracy theories, like all that stuff,
Uh,
because I feel like that is what people want to know about. It's just,
yeah.
and I love talking about it. I don't have anybody really to talk about conspiracy
I
theories.
just hid all of my paranormal videos off of my YouTube channel.
Did
My
you?
YouTube channel was like crazy. It was all over the place because I started it like in my TikTok era. So there was like stuff about like witchcraft and shadow work and Ouija board sessions with my husband and like, spirit box stuff, like random what I would call like chaos streams, where I
Oh,
would just go on and like talk about what I was going through and stuff. Like it was a strange time. I think about Fight Club at the end whenever he's like, you met me at a really strange time in my life. That's how I feel about my subscribers.
but I feel like even if you didn't hide them, I feel like people are going through transitions right now too. Because I think one of my clients asked me, should I redo my entire like platform? I'm like, what? No, don't do that. Just start incorporating. Like, no. I mean, here's my projectorness. That is so much work. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, do not do that because people are going to unsubscribe or they're going to stay on and listen to like, and it actually shows that you're human and your human experience and that you're allowed to evolve. Like you're
Mhm.
allowed to change. And it's like me, if you look at my stuff, I don't change any of that. I just kind of shift and it stays on there. And like I go to this platform or that's why like I'm back more on YouTube because and poor TikTok, like, all that, we're gonna get on that
Yeah,
stuff.
poor TikTok.
Yeah, and it's like when people are asking me like what's your I don't even want to talk about it because it makes me feel emotional because it's like,
Aw.
hopefully by this recording, this recording's out, we will know if we have TikTok or not. So, make, whatever.
Yeah,
So
I think I heard that they're like supposed to be banning it on Sunday, by the way.
yeah, that's what the supposed thing is, but it won't happen. But again, I then feel deeply like collectively for all of the that's another example of why to myself that I'm like, we need to focus. We need to just rely on ourselves, not any other thing, like, or, a platform that's owned by somebody else. Or, of course, you have to market there. You don't have to, but you can.
Yeah, grow an email list.
Yeah.
And
Like,
grow an email list of this is side note, sorry. Not sorry. So not sorry. You're welcome. Grow a list of buyers, not free like free lead magnets. Please, please, for the love of God, do yourself a favor and create a super low ticket lead magnet, okay, as a front end offer and grow your email list with buyers, people who are invested enough in what the fuck you're saying to get up off the couch or to get up off the toilet, wherever they happen to be, like, or standing in line at the grocery store to get their card out, put the thing in the phone, even if it's $7, that they want to hear more so much that they're willing to like take that action, even if it's for a couple bucks. They are invested in healing that in themselves or knowing this thing about themselves or whatever. Do that. Do that. If you're gonna, obviously that's a part of depending on yourself instead of the platforms.
yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's actually been something that I've been switching to because, if you are newer at this, I always say to like, what's your offer? Like, what's your product suite? Like, what's all that stuff. Obviously, you need to have something. And I switched from doing a lot of shit for free for a fucking year to charging for master classes, charging for, and I'm talking low ticket, like I'm talking $22 because I'm saying if I paid $22 for something, my ass is going to show up. Now, if I signed up for something for free and like you said, maybe if I feel like it, I'm going to show up. And I stopped,
Oh
and I
my
feel like
God, I have to pay
starting
like
to,
thousands of dollars to show up for something.
well, I'm just saying like a free, saying like a low ticket,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
like,
I know what you're saying. No, a
yeah,
lot of people do actually show up. It surprised me when I
it is.
started doing it because
Or
I don't
workshop.
operate like that at all.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, whatever, take the $47 or whatever.
Yeah. Well, because
It's annoying.
I've also showed up too, like paid $97 as like an investment. And I had, again, that was like through my own shift of money trauma and money wounds and all this stuff that it's like, then that mirrored, I don't remember, I can't give credit to the person because I don't remember what her name was, but I watched a video yesterday. This is not coming from my brain. She said to me, your business mirrors you. So if
Yeah.
you're not making clients, if you're saying this, you're saying that, I feel like there's always some type of work that you have to do in yourself. So
Everything mirrors you. Your entire reality is you pushed out, period.
right,
There's nothing not reflecting you.
right. So
You
I
always get exactly what you want to.
exactly. So it's like then so I when I kind of picked up on that pattern, that I was doing all of this free work to kind of transition into not free work, or it's like, this is my mindset. And then telling myself that, you know, clients are just coming to me, I feel like the bullshit of like the affirmations that you truly don't wholeheartedly agree are not going to work. Like,
No, they don't.
that's just fat. Like, that's just, you're gaslighting yourself.
They don't. Yeah.
It's like you have to change your mindset in of like a different way, I feel like. And I feel like that, I mean, I don't know why I'm saying this, but I feel like that has really changed my whole business perspective this year and last year, and like what I'm telling myself. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't have my books are not full, physically full, but it's like I've started to really learn about the law of assumption, because I'm just going to, it's a little bit deeper than this, but like assuming that I'm doing the work. I mean, you can't just, here's the thing about too, like you can't just sit and not do anything. Like you
Yeah.
can't just tell yourself that clients are coming to you, money is coming to you. There's like so many different aspects on like what you talked about. And I love that you talked about the masculine, which is the action, right? And then the energetic piece of it, because it's all interconnected. And I feel like people aren't, I've noticed people are not, I mean, maybe more now they are, but they're not really connecting them both, because it's really important. So I
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
emphasize that too, because I feel like, and also I would always compare myself to whoever, whoever I'm like, oh, I like their messaging. Oh, I like this. But it's like, the whole comparison piece, which is really loud in the coaching community, like spiritual community, because we're all literally at the end of the day, we're all selling the same thing, and we're talking about energy blocks, or we're talking or emotional blocks, or money blocks. Like, that's it. Like, there's no other secret.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I disagree with that, but it can definitely look like that. I think that you either have power or you don't have power. And
Yeah, that's probably okay.
that's
So, like, yes. So,
it.
so yeah, that's actually a better way to. It's about power. And I know that you want to tell us a little bit about your program that you have on this, so the listeners are like, oh yeah, power, that resonates better.
So, whenever it comes to, I talk about, I have a methodology called the architecture of business consciousness, because I don't think that like really energy and business go together. I think they're the same thing. Actually, I know they're the same thing.
Yeah.
And like, it's kind of like, you're mentioning that you're starting to get really into the law of assumption. So I'm sure you've heard this, that like the mirror can't smile first, right? Like the mirror can't smile first. So if you are running your business purely on strategy, not energetics at all. You don't know about the energetics, or if you just think like, oh, maybe I have a mindset block or something like that. Because when I started coaching, I was a mindset coach, right? So before I started coaching, I actually did high ticket affiliate sales. Before that, I did an MLM. Okay, so during that time, I was like, oh, I started learning about these things called funnels. I was like, this is like 2016. It was like new shit, like ClickFunnels was just coming out, it was just starting to get big. It was like this whole thing, and I was like, I like that. I want to learn about that, right? So I ended up going into high ticket sales where we used funnels, but I was kind of like the poster child of any kind of community, whether it was MLM or the high ticket sales community. And I would always end up on the leaderboard, and they would have me on the webinars that to do the selling and stuff like that with them, to tell my story. And so people just started reaching out to me asking like, oh my god, how are you doing this, like can you show me, just like what you were saying, right? And so that's how I actually started coaching. But I fell in love with like the mindset part, the personal development part. I like wanted to be a motivational speaker so bad. But at that time, I was only like focused on like mindset, right? I thought like, oh, I have money blocks, bitch. I was in my journal 4 hours a day before I would ever even like come on social media. Like it was ridiculous. Okay. So I think whenever I started like getting really into energy, is when it just things kind of started evolving, but they have evolved to the point now where there is no question. Like if I'm experiencing some kind of doubt, it is like so temporary because of like the embodiment and the knowing of like, oh no, I am the only power. Like there's nothing outside of me, right? And so if I'm looking at my business performing in a certain way that I'm not liking, I can see how because I am powerful that I want that in some way. If a client doesn't sign up with me, I want that in some way. There's maybe a misalignment in that client. Maybe I don't thoroughly enjoy showing up with them and I'm kind of like secretly like, I don't really want to do this, right? Or something like that. Or if like my ads stopped working or something, that's maybe it's like, yeah, I've been wanting for the past 2 months to like upgrade my ads, actually my front end offer. Hello, of course my ads stopped working because I'm fucking powerful and I'm doing that, and there's nothing to like shame yourself about or blame yourself about or feel, guilty or anything about or judge yourself about. It's just, you're always giving yourself exactly what you want. Like claim that, claim ownership of that. That's powerful, right? It's not just about like, oh, well, but I want money and I'm not getting money. It's like, well, no, you want safety more and you're associating money comes at a huge cost that you're not willing to pay. So, yeah, you can want money all day long, but you want that perceived sense of safety more. Well, what happens whenever you know that you are powerful is that you know that you're the source of safety. And you cultivate that shit in yourself and you start regulating yourself into new levels of success, right? Like before you if you're playing on just like the physical, you only have what you have to work with. So you can only manipulate things. When you're the power, there's no manipulation. There's no even boundaries that you have to have because you are creating it all. And so your business is always going to reflect that no matter what. This is something that I find and feel is, and I will fucking like say this forever. I feel that this is the most important thing of running a business because you can run your business. And like I said earlier, all strategies work. Okay. They all work. The flavor of the results of those strategies, they're not all ideal. That's why I've done so many of them because I can create success in this way and I go, you know what? That's not quite exactly the way I want it. All right, let me tweak this. I'm going to, do this way and experiment with it and play with it. But if who you are is a person who like doesn't believe she's good enough, let's just use that one for example. Maybe you're carrying lots of shame and stuff and this is like a block. You have like, receiver blocks or something. And really it comes down to like, oh no, you're animating and embodying like a shameful woman, like a woman who's not good enough. So of course you're going to do things and say things that prove that you're not good enough because you're fucking powerful and you're always going to do like who you are. Like you're always going to be the fucking person that you are. You're always going to get who you are. So even you can like make money in your business and you can get results in your business, but if you don't think you're good enough, your results are not going to feel good enough. You're going to be like, I want more, I want more, I want more. You're going to be a woman who's always striving and never arriving. You're going to be a woman who like always wanting but never having, right? And so you can have the success, you can have the money, you can have the clients, but is it going to be the experience of like total fucking liberation and total power and total like knowing that I command my reality, right? Not usually. Not usually. And so this is why I'm actually like so passionate about what I do. And I think that what you're asking about the program that I help people through this is dark divine initiation, where we like get you dropped into your dark feminine magnetism. But in that, this is where you that magnetism meets with your intuitive sales genius, which is what I was telling you earlier, my 4622 there. The intuitive sales genius like activates itself when you're in this place of like true authentic power. And in the practice of it, it's not just a head thing, like it is an experience of like you are literally animating this experience and creating a life of fucking art and wonder and pleasure and fulfillment. You're living that, and that's when things just start lining up for you. And if they're not lining up, you know, hey, yeah, that's me. I did that too. Okay, it doesn't mean anything about me. What do I want to do with it? Right? This is data. This is a fucking portal that I get to walk through. Thank you, portal, for opening up. I'm like dimension hopping over here. You know what I mean? So, anyways, second TED talk of the podcast. Let's go. I can do this
Yeah.
all day.
No, I was gonna say, and that's why well, for one, thank you for all your wisdom, and thank you for just like hanging out with us too. Because I was gonna say, I that has without literally that was my end of the year last year into this year, and I didn't even realize that that was happening. I kept seeing it, of course. Like I always believe I'm supposed to see things when I do, especially like on my wherever I'm on, and it pops up at the right time. And I started to look into, like the Lilith and like all that. And I'm like, oh,
I love the
oh my,
asteroid.
yes,
Yes.
yes. Or it's like, just to try to, like you say, you are intuitive genius. Of course, in human design, I'll bring it back to human design or gene keys. It's like your zone of genius. I feel like that is matched to the same thing. Like there's always like it's in your you're not going too far into gene keys, but I actually
Oh,
learned more.
that's there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that like I learned about gene keys actually before I actually liked quantum human design besides traditional human design when I first started. So I'm going again, like this is how I always start. I'm like at the end of the finish line, and then I literally have nothing in the middle, and then it's like, oh, where the fuck do I start? So it's like, but that's what I learned.
That's a hermit thing. That's a hermit
And
thing for sure.
I was gonna say I've learned so much, just uh like when you're talking, because I feel like you have a different way of putting it into like a different perspective, especially the line two. I always say that you need a lot of alone time, right?
Oh yeah.
You know that, but I didn't realize that until last year, probably literally October, that I realized that is my self sabotage bullshit that I do because I'm trying to figure everything out. I already know it, and then it's just like shit. This is literally I'm getting ready to go in hermit mode, and I know this because it's just I know, and it's like why didn't I do it then? And then of course that shame, that guilt, the self sabotaging, the accountability, like all this shit comes up, and I was like, I am the perfect person to talk about this because I literally used to do this, and I don't do it anymore, but I literally used to do it up until like 6 months ago, or like however October, whatever. It was like literally within the last 6 months of my life, I realized that my own self-sabotaging behaviors, being a projector, they always self-sabotage. I don't give a shit who you are, and you're a projector. You don't have to even be a projector and you self-sabotage. And that's literally, I'm like, no wonder I have so many manifestors and generators around me, because that will not get me to self-sabotage. And it's like that connects
Mm.
with community, that connects with partnerships, like whatever it is, they're always a manifestor and always a generator. And I never even need to pull their chart. Of course I do pull their chart, but
Of
it's
course.
of course, because it's like I trust myself, and I do know that human design was a way to trust myself, because it's like we're built different. I don't care who you are, like everybody's built different. I mean, even if you're a generator, like you it's just, you probably think you're a projector, or maybe you think you're a manifester. I don't know. But I know when I first learned about my human design, it was so it was so liberating to me. And I
Oh
gave
yeah.
myself that permission to stop making emotional decisions, actually figure out how to make a fucking decision, and stop procrastinating, and stop calling myself lazy and telling myself I don't need rest, and doing everything like the rest of society. When I look at everybody else, I'm looking. Oh, I'm looking, and I see it, and I like looking at it, and I like seeing it. And I'm like, God, they're doing shit the hard way. Why are they doing
Mhm.
it that way? But then, it gives me, again, being a projector, I also learned that I have to wait to be invited. And my bitterness will show up if I start to give people advice, unsolicited advice, when they don't want it. But
Yeah.
it's like a little bit different on social media. If they follow me and they're commenting and they're this and that or whatever, that's different. But then unfollow me. Like literally, I tell people all the time, like my other clients, that I'm like, here's the thing about what I'm talking about. If they follow you, they subscribe to you, you're allowed to give them advice. Like the way that people kind of say about and waiting for the invitation, they're following you for a reason. If they don't want to follow, they literally will unfollow you. Like you are
Yeah.
allowed to speak, like, because I feel like that also keeps people in this, like, I can't do it because it's like I'm not. I got to so focused on like waiting to be invited.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what I
that's
said to you
bullshit.
earlier, right? And I'm
Yeah.
like, no. And then, but I understand it because I didn't even know how to apply my own strategy
Oh
when
yeah.
when I was doing all of this too, because I'm like, I have to wait to be invited. And that's like, I feel like full circle moment for like me talking about this. It's like, I then always said the sales strategy, and I'm glad that you talked about it in your way and your perspective, because I feel like it's the same thing for one, it's just different, and it gives you that permission, and that like I can just be who I am, and that's like literally the whole, like, I just feel like it's my whole thing. So anyway,
Yeah.
thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Yes,
um,
this is so great.
yes, so tell us how, all your links will be in the description box, but tell us how anybody can connect with you, find you.
So, the best place to connect with me, like if you're gonna send a message or something, Instagram for sure. But I just created, I think last month or maybe the month before, I created a really cool like series. It's called the Cash Flow Queen series. Like I was talking about at the beginning of, creating a business that like really fucking turns you on and brings you cash in the bank every single day and dream clients on repeat. Like my clients stay with me for years, like years. People will take the same program 2 or 3 times just because they love that being in that space and they love the support, right? I think I have everyone's dream business. And so the Cash Flow Queen series is about helping you to see what's actually going on here that positions you to be able to have that kind of business and have the kinds of results where you're having Stripe notifications every day, predictably, repeatably, sustainably. You know where your next client is going to come from. This is a big one. People always say like, I don't know where my next client is going to come from. That doesn't need to be a thing, right? So that's what the Cash Flow Queen series is setting you up for, priming you for. And of course, there are, in that, there's an invitation to work with me in the intensive, or just reach out on Instagram if you're wanting to know more about like what working together will look like, or you can just follow me. And I also have a YouTube channel that I just started. Did you know I've posted 11 videos out of 15 days? Isn't that crazy? Crazy.
Good for you,
Yeah.
manifester.
Yeah, I know. I know. And
Are
it
you
feels
sure you're
it
not
feels
being
so
a
easy.
manifesting generator or a generator?
I know, it's crazy. Well, I had set up the intention to post daily, and then
Oh,
after 7 days I was like, I'm not doing that.
I was gonna say, here's me. I'm like, you're gonna burn out. When I see, I mean, of course I'm subscribed. So I was like, Team, she posted another video? I'm like, again? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh.
I
Five
think
to
three to four times is really good for me. I'm going like full on beast mode just because of like the content that was on my channel. YouTube has
Oh
like
yeah.
information about what I post, so now I'm like retraining their algorithm.
Oh yeah.
So it's like beast mode. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. Sidebar. Okay. Thank you for having me on. This was lovely, and
Yes.
I
Thank
adore
you.
you.
Yeah, I was gonna say thank you so much for joining us on today's episode with Astrid. I hope you really enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I know I did. I enjoy everybody, but I especially enjoy our conversations. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and then share this with somebody that you feel that would gain knowledge from listening. Stay tuned for more captivating conversations in the future. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you next week.